Is it recording? Yeah. Okay, Q&A time again. We're back. We're doing it. I got so many of them, man. I jotted down this little piece of paper, and then I'm looking on the back. It says pork, 1 dozen cheese, or 1 dog cheese. Look, at the paper, I found it at my mom's, so you never know what you're gonna get. So I had, we're hitting these Q&As pretty hardcore now. I'm liking it. You guys seem to be really enjoying it. I'm totally enjoying it. It's like I've been saying in the other ones, it's going to come down to my opinion. This question comes from subscriber Tommy Offret, O-F-F-R-E-T. What's my opinion of Mick Mars of Motley Crue and Warren Demartini of Ratt? So it's basically like I did the Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads one, same type of concept. I'm just going to tell you my opinion. I don't expect everyone to agree with it. This is how I feel about these two players. Mick Mars. To me, what I really like about Mick, I've always liked it about Mick, is his ear for tone, which I think is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best in rock and metal. Mick is just, I don't know how he gets that wall of sound. Totally. He's always had amazing tone. And I also think his songwriting is good. If you listen to the first album, which is Too Fast for Love, right? And it had that raw, energy to it. And you go from album to album. Obviously, they switched singers. They had 𝐂𝐄𝐒𝐿. I forget the name of that album. Killer. Heavy. Probably the heaviest album. Actually, not probably. It's the heaviest Motley album. Just the tone from album 1, and it never stayed the same. And when it changed in a good way. There's some guitar players in big bands where, they may have had a killer tone. I'm not going to list any names. I want to so bad, but I'm not. You guys probably know who I'm talking about. But went from an amazing tone. Well, no, they went from kind of a raw tone because they didn't have a whole lot of money really when they produced the first album, and then the next couple, the tone was fabulous, and then the 90s came around and the tone just, they did a few things. I was like, what in the heck were they thinking? Mick was not like that. Mick, you can tell every album his ear was dialed in on tone to get the fattest, coolest sounding guitar tone for solos and rhythm, and his ability to overdub counter melodies and other secondary guitar tracks behind what he's doing. Of course, a lot of guitar players will double and triple the same rhythms, but Mick would totally mix it up. I can't remember the specifics of this, but I remember I was probably like 21, and I was over at Les's house. Les is Mick Mars' son, and he was staying with this other guitar player, I forget his name, good guitar player, but he had his whole studio set up over there, and I went over there to record on his electronic drum kit. I guess it was one that Tommy Lee was using for a while, like the same one. And so I was recording all the tracks, I played all the parts in it and everything. Started with the drums, had the song in my ear. But I had this clean intro thing that I was doing. And Les had me do a trick that his dad did. And if I'm wrong on this, Les, let me know. I can't totally remember, but it seems like a way to emulate a 12-string that Mick had used. And I don't know what song on the Motley album, or what songs, but you had me tune my guitar down an octave lower and play this clean thing, and then I tuned it up to standard, I think is where I was tuned for the song, and did the exact same thing, and then we blended them together, and it sounded massive, huge. It was cool. He said it was a trick that his dad had used. Mick had used it, and I just don't remember the song. But that, type of thinking behind Mick Mars is brilliant, I think. So we move over to, and I'll probably bounce back and forth as I get bombarded with like my feelings and thoughts on it. But Warren Demartini from Ratt, you know, I remember the first song I heard from Ratt was probably "You Think You're Tough," and Robin Crosby took that solo. I was the Warren guy. I was into Warren. He's another guitar player that had really fabulous tone. Listen to the tone on the one that always got me, and you'll probably be like, yeah, if you're a Ratt fan, you'll agree. The tone on "Lay It Down." I don't know what Warren was using amp-wise there, but man, he dialed it a killer tone. But I just think Mick was more consistent on his game when it came to his guitar tone and his ideas that he threw in with Motley, where Warren, you can tell, you know, their peak, and then maybe there was band tension or something, but just later on, and you know, the early 90s, obviously grunge was coming in, and that stuff probably affected a lot of these 80s bands. Maybe the financing behind the record companies played a part, and that could affect you, man, as far as your creativity and all that stuff. But as a lead player, Warren is the man. Amazing. He's got an amazing style. The closest that I can compare Warren Demartini to, there's a couple players. One would be Eddie Van Halen, but probably more so George Lynch from Dokken and Lynch Mob. Lynch had more of a choppy feel to his playing, where Warren was more fluid. You know, he was just, I mean, you listen to solos like to Wanted Man and stuff, and he's doing these amazing, like fast, flashy, cool riffs, and you think he's gonna stop and pause and do a vibrato for a second, but he keeps going longer, and then you think he's gonna stop again, and he keeps going. Warren's just insane. He's a hard guitar player, just like Eddie Van Halen, to emulate his style. Like born with a guitar in his hands type thing. Warren was the more flashy, stylist solo player, in my opinion. Mick, more consistent. From 1981 to now, which they just actually finished their last concert. The end of Motley Crue has happened just a couple nights ago. So I hope that answers your question. You know, like I said, these come down to opinions, and I don't expect everyone to agree with me on it. It's not about that. I'm being asked questions by you guys and doing my best to tell you where I'm coming from, why I feel that way. Warren was you know, from a solo aspect, just a real challenge player for me, and I drew a big influence off of that with Warren. When he soloed, it wasn't like something you would just pick up typically super quick. I mean, you got to sit down and put in just the time and do your homework at home and practice the style and technique. He also had that really cool vibrato that reminded me of George Lynch. Now, who did it first? I don't know, because they both like hit at the same time. There's another guitar player named 𝐔𝐿 that has that same vibrato, just a shred player. But anyways, there you go. My opinion of Mick Mars of Motley Crue, who I actually know. He's an amazing guy, very, very nice, humble, down-to-earth, funny guy. I think, and I hear a lot of people talk about this, that Mick Mars is underrated as a guitar player. And I have to agree with that. I think he's very underrated. You know, it's funny, I talk to a lot of people. I have a lot of students that I teach on Skype, and my rock metal guys, you know, all of them like Motley Crue. And, you know, the thing with Motley, another point with them is they seem to kind of, for one, they've been able to stick around. You know, I think a lot of bands, it seems like, you know, they don't get the notoriety anymore. A lot of these 80s bands, you know, bands like Aerosmith, Metallica, of course, you know, those epic bands that didn't have, you know, they had the staying power. Motley Crue had that staying power. For whatever reason, Ratt, they went through member changes, and, you know, there's still stuff going on with them now. I mean, certain members wanting to take the name and this and that. But longevity, man, Motley had it, and I don't feel like they ever went downhill with their songwriting, man. They pushed, and they pushed hard. They earned it. They deserve it. They impacted, you know, a lot of bands of the 80s. So Mick, Awesome band. Awesome. Warren Demartini. Awesome. So there you go. Let's hear your opinions down there. And let the comments begin. Be sure to subscribe. Add me. I'm recording these on my iPhone, so I don't have like an editing program. That's why you're not seeing stuff shooting up. But you'll see it in the description. But be sure to add me on my 3 social media devices, which is Facebook, Instagram, which I just recently added, and Twitter. Those are my 3. Add me. Okay? Read it down below. You'll see how to add me. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Keep your requests coming in. Keep your Q&As coming in, because really, I'm getting a lot of emails and people are liking these. And I am too, because it's taking me down memory lane with a lot of these 80s ones, of course. I have more. I might do another one right after this. Keep rocking, guys. See ya. Bye-bye now.